wanted to turn the camera inward after decades of inhabiting so many other characters?
If you live long enough, anything can happen. And it was such an unexpected gift that David Serero gave me, and I'm sure as many of you understand, those of us that have the privilege of having children and grandchildren, whether they're adopted or whether they're your biological children, the idea of leaving a legacy like this was the greatest gift. It's funny, I watch this and I'm very moved by the love of Patty and Isaac and Kristen and Dustin. It's just so moved that they showed up. You know, Goldmayer says, some people love you, and some people love you and show up. And they showed up, and it made all the difference. I think that as a Jew, I'm a very proud Jew, and I'm so happy to know who I am. I'm unapologetic. I was taught early in my life, because of our epigenetics, to stay humble and stay vigilant. To stay what I call, when I teach at Yale, stay in the tunnel, I say. Stay with single deep focus. And when I coached soccer for the city of New York, because they didn't have enough coaches, and my 5-year-old daughter asked me to coach, so I was like 3 pages ahead of the exercises. But I would say the most important time for single deep focus is after you make the goal. Stay humble, stay vigilant. So there's a part of me that watches this, Wendy, and can't believe that there's a movie about me. I mean, you just can't believe it. But I've tried all my life, even relinquishing Terry Sue, my birth name, to take on my original Hebrew name, Tovah. I was named after my great aunt Tilly, who died early, and my great grandmother Sarah in Britain, who lived a long life, Terry Sue. But I was always called Tovah at Temple Israel Center in White Plains. But by taking on that and having it change the entire landscape of my life, gave me something to live up to. If Tovah means good, and if the center of Judaism, for me, is the mitzvah, it's not deism, it's the mitzvah, it's the deed of loving kindness, to be kind for no reason at all, just to do it. I think in watching that documentary, and over 5 decades I've spent trying to transform myself into different neshamas, different souls of different people, to affiliate with them. That's the most pervasive thing that I've really tried to achieve, which is kindness, affiliation, empathy, and of course, excellence. Of course, excellence. That's it. As Andy knows, my motto is, I will not be defeated. And let me tell you something, neither will the Jewish people.
Not only success, but resilience, moments of reinvention and preservation. And was there a particular chapter of your life that you felt was most important to include in the film?
Well, I think my personal life is important because it's not that known, and on this, in 3 weeks from today, February 16th, 1976, Andrew Levy came back to my dressing room after the Washington birthday matinee of Yentl, a special Monday matinee, and took me out to the Eclair restaurant where there was always a line around the block. Isaac Singer used to take me there, but he was such a known entity. And Andy walked in, spoke to the maitre d', and all I know is the next thing I know we were seated. And I thought, gee, my God, did he give him money? What happened? He spotted a small table that nobody else wanted near the door, and we sat down and had an eclair, and then he asked me out to dinner. I said, absolutely not. He said, why? He said, you go back to Harvard and you marry a Radcliffe teacher. He said, Mary, I'm just asking you out to dinner. And I said, no, I wouldn't go out to dinner. And he walked me back to 160 West 71st Street, apartment 16F, where I lived, and I wouldn't open the door fully. I wouldn't let him in the apartment. And I said good night to him. And it was about 8 o'clock at night, it wasn't that late. And he leaned down and he just kissed me right on my mouth. I said, what do you think you're doing? And he said this, and he kissed me again. And that was 50 years ago, this coming 3 Mondays, yeah. And the rest is history. When the boy asked me to marry him June 28th, I didn't even say yes. I said, of course. He is my b'sher. So I was very proud of the personal areas. I've always been proud of the way Andrew speaks. And I'm proud of the children. You know, we brought up the children with a real sense of detail, excellence, specificity. Our daughter says, excellence before happiness. It's not that. It's that if you give it your best shot, nobody can call you Fisher. And then all you have to do is make sure you've given yourself to causes you believe in. Because if you give yourself to causes you don't believe in, that's what you're left with. If you don't fully believe in money, and you give yourself the money, that's all you're left with. You may not be left with happiness or satisfaction. So I feel this is the 3rd chapter of my life. My mother lived till over 103. I plan to live to 104 at least. And I'm still going. I'm one of those people like Helen Mirren, like Betty White, who will not retire. I don't have to look at my watch when I transform myself or try to into other human beings. And I was just sent a play called The Pill, and it starts out with the wife reading, and the husband talks, and she doesn't even look up. She goes, "Don't interrupt me. Just don't interrupt." I'm not interrupting. You are just making them stop breathing. Don't interrupt. It's just hilarious, and I can relate. Okay.
So the next question is for David. What first compelled you to tell Tovah's story on film? And how did you decide what moments of her extraordinary career and inner life to focus on?
Well, first of all, I just want to take a second to inhale all these emotions, because you seeing the movie, you're discovering as much as me, because it was really the first time that it was screened on the big screen. So it was funny to hear you guys laughing where I didn't expect anyone to laugh, and and being moved at the end. But I was like over there hiding my tears. But for a director, to have an Oscar is the biggest thing. But there is bigger than an Oscar. Is to have a Tovah. Is to have a Tovah, ladies and gentlemen. Because she's a very big inspiration. I mean, in the Broadway world, in the theater world where I come from, she's really one of the biggest names. And I try not to look at you when I talk, otherwise you're gonna make me cry. So that's why I'm looking over there. I'm Jewish and I love Jewish theater and everything. But she was able, and I think in history, people will remember her also for that. Is that she took Jewish characters and she made them mainstream. You see, Tovah is not Walmart or Zara, you know what I mean? Tovah is a little baking store that is right at the corner over there, that's been serving people for the last 50 years, that's been serving dedication, excellency to people, where all the biggest people, they go there. And even the big, like Walmart, they go to that bakery store and they're like, wow, I wish we could have that quality. And when you open that door, you feel you belong to a certain place. And she has a way of welcoming you, all her colleagues, not just myself, of course, but all her colleagues, all the people she works with. That's why when I reach out to them, of course, with the blessing of Tovah, they all say yes right away. And believe me, these people, if you don't go through 50 lawyers, 50 agents, if they don't have the questions in advance, they didn't care about none of that. They said, for Tovah, come anytime. This is my cell phone, call me, we make it happen. So she's really, I wish to everyone, each and every one of you, that one day you feel what we feel when we open the door of that bakery shop. So I forgot your question, but
It's okay.
I'm
Well,
Sephardi,
your
you know what I mean?
enthusiasm.
I've been to public school, so
We love your enthusiasm. We don't care if you forgot the question. It's all okay here. So on Tovah, you portrayed iconic Jewish women from Golda Meir to Yentl, like figures of strength. What responsibility, if any, do you feel when representing Jewish history and memory on stage and screen?
I think as an actor, which in many ways I am, in terms of my work, I am first. I mean first like blue ribbon first. I mean, that comes first. That any character you play, you have to find the path in. When I played Leona Helmsley coming back from purgatory for 1 hour to prove her innocence, and she says, I've had 2 dreams all my afterlife. One is to get out of purgatory, and the other is to have my own cabaret show. So you find the path in. Leona really thought she was innocent. If I were asked to play Hitler, this is probably something you should cut out if you're filming this. If I was asked to play Hitler, I would play him as the most extraordinary executive maid for the planet Earth. He wanted to clean up the planet, to get rid of the Jews, get rid of homosexuals, get rid of Down syndrome children, have the Poles be our servants, have the Danish join us as the Aryan race, and I'm going to make this place really beautiful, really orderly, and we're going to be much happier. Keep the Africans. We don't have enough strength to kill all those people, but let's just, yeah.
It's sealed, be careful.
It is. It's silk. As my mother would say, it's not only silk, it's from Hermes, or is it Hermes? So you have to find the path in, and that was my job. That was my job. As Ruth Bader Ginsburg said to me when I played her, without Mario, I would have never been a Supreme Court justice. That he was the extrovert, she was the introvert. With Golda Meir and her husband, he was the introvert, she was the extrovert, and she chose as her primogenitor not her 2 children, but the state, to found the state. So when I spoke to her children about their mother was in many ways absent. Her son had the cello. He became a musician, so he affiliated with the cello. Her daughter, Sarah, lived right in the way of the 73 war. She was in the southern kibbutz, and Golda knew that there could be an attack and that her daughter would be right in the line of fire, and she was with her daughter, but she left the kibbutz without discussing the potential of the attack. So her primogenitor was the state, and that's my job. I mean, I've played Catherine Hepburn, I've played 9 Jews from birth to death, and Hello Mother, Hello Father, and of course I've played nuns. I've played people of true believers, like Irena Budoptak was a Polish Catholic girl who hid 18 Jews in a shaft, in the heating shaft of a mansion where the Nazis were, and for 2 days, and they horizontal. And you think of how do you survive? How do you pee? Do you pee right? These questions. And she was 18 years old when she did this. So the ordinary becomes extraordinary with these different characters, particularly with Golda. Then there's Dr. Ruth. Dr. Ruth was so optimistic that every sentence at the end goes up. How are you, Tovah? It's good to see you. I love to ski. Everything goes up. Everything goes up. And I don't know, I felt honored to be asked. And also actors are, and then I'll stop talking, actors are siloed now. When I began my career, I played, 2 of the nominations were from an Italian Catholic and a Brazilian Catholic, from Donna Flor and from Maria Morelli and Mia Tenor. And then, of course, Yentl and Golda Meir. But I didn't go from Jew to Jew to Jew to Jew. So once that started to happen, and it's happening to Adam Brody, and he's only 42. So this is the siloing of the actor, that Spanish actors have to play Spanish people. And the actor who wants to be transformational, how would Dustin have played Grazio Rizzo in Midnight Cowboy? Would he have gotten that role? Would I have gotten Donna Flor? I wore Egyptian too. I looked like Lena Horne on stage. I was like covered with this tan and stuff. So now that we're siloed, it became very important to make Ruth Bader Ginsburg different than Ruth Westheimer, different than Golda Meir, different than Leona Helmsley, different than Deanna Monroe, who wasn't really Jewish. They wanted to put a menorah in there. I said, get that menorah out. Because very often when I show up on a set, they change the character. So now I have it in my contract that if somebody's made, if they hire me to play you know, Maria Christensen, they can't change that name. I have to lock them in because I come there and some people go, so Tovah, how are you? I said, if you were black, would I say, yo, 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 how you doing? You know, they'll talk to me in dialect. It's just bizarre, nonetheless, I have a great life, and part of my great life is that I get to be with you tonight. That's part of it.
I'm going to open it up a little bit later. I'm just going to ask one more question to you and one more to Tovah, then we're going to open it up to the audience. David, the film features extensive archival footage and exclusive interviews with many stars like Dustin Hoffman, Oscar Isaac, and Patti LuPone. How were these specific individuals chosen?
Well, the chosen people, right? So, and no, it very simply is the people who have worked and participated to what I call the celebration of Tovah. You know, I put the example of a bakery store, but she's more like a champion, you know, who sends a mitzvah on each bowl, you know. So yeah, there were people who have contributed, I should say, to her career, and I think she gives to her colleagues and she receives also from her colleagues. And she explained what she learned from Anthony Hopkins, so she's, you know, she's just an endless source of bringing to other people and telling to people that love is both ways, you know. And I want to point out that a lot of people, you know, they focus on getting a success in their career. But what is amazing with Tovah is that she succeeded her life, you know, by being the best wife. I mean, we can ask her husband right here. Round of applause, Wendy, Andrew, and you know, being the best daughter, being the best friend, the best colleague. That's really interesting. I hope you would take from this film, aside the fact that it's a masterpiece, of course, but you would take with you that this is what I took every day. That's what I learned the most from Tovah. Of course, I learned so many things every day. But you know, when she pet that Texas, the horse, you know, it sounded like he was Jewish, first of all, right? No? Anyway, so when she pet him, she doesn't care about, she hopes to change the world, but she's like, all the little actions, the little mitzvot, the little actions that you can do right here around you, you know, they do matter. You know, these 10 minutes that she gave to that horse, that gave him comfort, as she says in the movie, you know, these are things that we can do. There is a Texas everywhere, right? So we all can give, you know, good to people. It's like you, sir, you're holding your wife like she's your 401k, you know? and her put it in the middle. It was a...
You've described an actor's process as needing a strong point of view for each character, almost like an extension of yourself. How do you maintain that personal connection across such diverse range of roles spanning over 50 years?
Wonderful question. Beautifully done, Wendy. I mean, that took thought. I was a pianist before I was an actor, and I was with my professor, Andre Singer, at Serero, and I was playing the Rhapsody in Blue for him, which I had played at the 8th grade graduation. I mean, the real Rhapsody in Blue. And he said, and this was 5 years later, because I played when I was 13, so I was already 18 or 17 and a half at Serero. And he said, where's your point of view? I said, what? He said, you don't have a point of view about each phrase. Each phrase has to be connected to your fingers, connected to your arms, to your heart. You need to do some work. There has to be an understanding of this note and its relationship to that note, and how it makes a measure, and how the measure makes a system, how the system makes a page, and how the page will make a movement. And that's what taught me how to act. And that's what taught me how to spell. We had, at my age, we had spelling bees. We know how to spell. It's just so sad to be with these Ivy Leaguers, and they have spell check. They don't know what the hell they're doing with the English spelling. It's just wild. Grammar's gone out the window. It's a subjective case. It's like, what? you know, her and me, we went to the store. I almost dropped dead. I said, not in my house, she didn't. She and I. Anyway, so being a musician and that specificity helped me apply that idea. Kristen mentions it. She talks about the rhythm or the melodic structure of a comic sentence. It has what I call a comic rupture. So that, for instance, in farce, and farci, as David knows, means overstuffed. It means this. So if you say to somebody, pass the butter, it's not funny. But if you say, pass the butter, that has the potential of being funny. It's overblown need for a minute thing, which then brings me to my mother, Lily. My mother, Lily, I have actually some books, some 12 memoirs left from the last concerts I did last month here in Florida, called Lilyville, Mother, Daughter, and Other Roles I Played. And it has the humor of my mother in it. And she was going deaf, and when I did, she came to every show I ever did, and she would say to me, I'm not coming to see you in the Virginia monologues, I can't say the word. But 4 women in black dresses in front of 4 music stands talking about their Schachburgers. Forget it! So if you're pretty in this movement and this color, give me a ring. So I take her to the matinee, the Actors Benefit Matinee of Hair. There's color, there's movement, and there's Will Swenson. At the end of Act 1, the cast comes out to straddle certain members of the audience's armrests. And either they knew I was in the audience or they didn't know, but they went, and Will Swenson, in his loincloth, straddled my mother's armrest, like the Arch of St. Louis. And his loincloth. And my mother is in her St. John's knit suit with the double pearls, the Ferragamo heels, the little gloves, the matching purse. So my mother is under his crotch, and she looks up, she looks down. She looks up, she looks down. And as the house lights come up, I say, Mommy, how did you like Act 1? She said, like it? I haven't had sex like this since Daddy died. And that book will be out in the lobby after
You have to get that book. It's going to be available over there and dedicated and signed by Tovah. It is extraordinary.
What a terrific movie. Absolutely wonderful. It was. And what I would like to know is if a movie is made about you in the future, played by another actress, what actress would you like to play you?
I would like to make a series of Lilyville where I would play my mother. My mother at the beginning of her life, she talked like this, I swear to God. She had the shirtwaist dress and the pearls and the little Cuban heels, and she made sandwiches on Wonder Bread, and I'd come home and it was like being in Father's Knows Best. And then as she got older, she lost that speech pattern, kind of went back to before the elocution lessons. So I would like to play my mother, and the person playing me, I'm not sure. First of all, Hollywood would want to name it. That's a big deal. The one that I could very easily affiliate with, which is probably a little too sweet to play Tovah, is this wonderful actress who's on a spiral upward named Julie Banco, who played in Funny Girl every Thursday night, and whenever Leah was absent, and whenever the prior Funny Girl, Mimi Goldstein, was absent, and she did beautifully. In terms of a famous actress, Andy, what is the name of the lead in the Americans that I look like her, even though she's not Jewish? Kerry Russell. Yeah, I look at her and I feel like I'm related to her with the same facial features. But I don't know, maybe we'd audition. I'd have Sharon Bialy, who cast me in The Walking Dead, audition people to play me, but I'd very much like to do a TV series about the mother-daughter relationship.
My question is for Mr. Serero. Mr. Serero, I'm trying to know, how do you approach the subjects of your documentary filmmaking?
So basically I come from theater, right? So for me, the documentary is what is the closest to theater, because that's exactly what Tovah says is you don't want to recreate, but you want to be as spontaneous as possible, almost as if the line is being told for the first time. And that's what she does before every show on Broadway. Every night, she rereads the lines, not because of a memory thing, but to recreate that first moment. You know, that's what's so interesting. So that's what I like to do, right? You want to say something, man?
To excavate the
To
world,
excavate.
to go deeper.
To just, yeah. So for me, the documentary, it's all unscripted. Like, we don't know in advance what the person is going to say. I don't even know the questions, to be honest, because I like that interaction. So I always wanted to do the documentaries like, a James Bond movie or something like that, So I was thinking, what if instead of filming a documentary, I would film it really like a real movie, like a real film, like a cinema approach, with the coloring, with the sound effect, and the same to do a sound mix that sounds, the main voice, the main character sounds actually like a real character in a movie, and to put also a story in the film. So, of course, it takes a lot of time. This is about 2.5 years of work, which of course I don't do that every day because I work always with another film, and that helps me to come back fresher also after into it. And sometimes you have to put it on the side and then look at it. But what is very important is also that I test also the film to be shown in movie theaters, so that, for me, the film festivals, this is for me my favorite moment in the path of a film. Is the film festival is my number one thing, and every time I'm doing a movie, I'm like, how people are going to react into this film and that film, and every time I'm thinking, okay, I hope Leslie and Wendy, they love that one, etc., etc. And actually, they saw rough cut, like the movie was not even over. I haven't even finished the music. They saw the film, but yeah. So it's basically to show it as if it's a real movie and to remove the documentary aspect of it. That's at least my style. And that the music means something that is not just an elevator music, I call it, the background music, that the music is another character of the movie, So I could talk forever, but...
And what kind of a mother-in-law are you?
Well, one of my daughter-in-law's a convert, so it's hilarious. She just said, Mama T, this isn't much of a stretch for you. And I said, don't be ridiculous. Of course it is. And Jamie is half Chinese, brilliant. So Brandon Levy married Jamie Lilani Wu Kirk. And Kirk, of course, means church. Take the hollow knife, stick it in my heart, and twist it. So she converted for Brandon, which, as we know, is the worst reason. You're supposed to do it for yourself and all this stuff. And we have 2 magnificent granddaughters who look like Jews from Bangkok. And they're very Jewish, Sydney Levy and Amelia Levy. And those are Donna, of all the children, Raphael, Camille, and now little Stella will come to shul. But Sydney and Lily are my projects, and I just work with them all the time about the pride and the great honor of being Jewish, what a great, marvelous thing it is.
Now I want to say that it is our honor to award Tovah Feldshuh her Lifetime Achievement Award in recognition of a lifetime of outstanding artistic significance and extraordinary performances. Tovah, we love you.